for the U.S. national team. Brandon Downs, still a PTQ grinder in the area, kind of a Grand Prix grinder actually. He flies a lot to go to. He flies for Grand Prix a lot. Himself and Michaela Mikely are kind of a staple along the Grand Prix scene.
Has he been doing well at the Grand Prix?
He's been. I think he day 2'd the last one, Salt Lake last week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. All right, both players off with their mana creatures. Brandon Nelson with his one of Avacyn's Pilgrim. Brandon Downs with a Llanowar Elf. And Nelson will make sort of War and Peace turn 2. That's actually not that huge in this matchup. Downs will respond with his sort of Feast and Famine game 1. Downs has definitely the one up there. Almost all the creatures are green.
Looks a little better to me.
Yeah. Well, this early in the game, War and Peace is not a slouch because if it
it
now,
deals some
like,
serious damage.
It's about a 12-point swing, and so now Nelson will crash in with it. This is the best opportunity for him to get through with it. The biggest thing is Downs if he can connect with this sword, he can start playing threats much faster than Nelson could.
Yeah, I mean, if he starts connecting with this, he's not only picking up cards, he's also just out-tempoing his opponent.
Right. The sort of One Piece can make the matchup fast enough where it's possible he doesn't, like, the card might not matter, but
Galvanic
the untapped
Blast.
Galvanic Blast, really huge there.
Yeah, that is just a massive tempo swing there for Brandon Nelson.
All right, so Nelson's going to get another hit in with the Sword of War and Peace. We'll get a check on life total here pretty quick, but the answer is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So Nelson also with the red mana, Downs without red mana. So now Nelson with red up, 4th land, and passes the turn. So no large play. He was pretty much in on the threat of mana creature sword, it looked like. Downs gonna equip. It's gonna get. He's got to have this connect. If Nelson just has a hand of kill spells, this is pretty big. Downs already down to 5 life. He's gonna have to connect here.
Absolutely has to
in the sense of I think he's dead if he doesn't.
Yeah.
It's interesting. War Piece, that early War Piece, just so terrifying with how much damage it does.
It's kind of high output level.
It's the wrong protection colors, but that's okay. 2 mana from Downs. I like if it's Strangleroot Geist here. That's really strong. It is the other Strangleroot Geist. It's Garruk's Companion. Remember, Garruk's Companion, really adept at holding a sword. It will... Trample is a very relevant ability. So Downs at the untap. May pass the sword over to the puppy. Brandon Downs, what is it? We talked about it the day before, convinced him to run Garruk's Companions. He said it was an all-star for him in the Swiss. It was a very Delver-heavy metagame, and he said it was a card he would definitely be running again. It's kind of innocuous because the card is it's very underwhelming when you look at, if you walk up to someone and say, I cut Hell Riders. Oh, what'd you put in? Garruk's Companion. Like, oh, that's cool. You should just say that to people. I know you'll get a very tepid response.
Garruk's Companion's a fine man. A few years ago, everybody was so excited about Watch Wolf, and this guy tramples in a format with swords. How could he possibly be bad?
Yeah, so switches the sword over. Brandon Nelson still without the kill spell. Downs will say go. Remember, Nelson, just 1 Brimstone volley away from winning in multiple ways. You can volley the puppy. You can volley Downs' face. Conversely, he may try to wolf. He can wait and wolf run over the top. It's +2/+0 and trample right now. He's threatening. Is that lethal? Because the companion only sucks up 4 damage. So depending on how many cards are in Downs' hand, I think Downs has 3, so he can only put him to 1, and he'll lose his Pilgrim.
Yeah, but
I think you have to wait till it's lethal because the wolf run will continue to get bigger. Yeah, so he's gonna go for it. Block, there's the play. All right, wolf run it. Downs down to 1. 1 very different than 0 here.
Yeah, I mean...
All right. Which spot do you want to be in right now?
Spot of which player?
Yeah, would
Brandon.
you rather... Brandon. Oh, that's a thank you.
Okay,
Thank
just
you.
Anu Bibaru. I want to be in his spot.
You'd rather have 27 life, but down on the board.
Yes.
All right, I think I'm agreeing as well. There's so many Okay, Nelson's outs. 3 Galvanic Blast, 2 Brimstone Volley. He does 1 Strangle Root Geist as well. Sword of... I don't know about this anymore, though. Sword of War and Peace makes it onto Garruk's Companion.
Oh, wait. And the tides have turned.
Well, not that much life gain. I think Down's only gaining 3 here.
Still, 4 and 1 is
yeah,
a
I'm
big,
gonna say I
difference.
think I want to be Downs in this situation.
Yeah, now I want to be Downs.
Another Sword of War and Peace hits the battlefield.
Oof.
So 18 and 4. Downs pulling it back, and Brandon Nelson scoops it up, gets him down to 1. 1 is different than 0. Brandon Downs up 1 game to 0 over Bibaru over on the left. And he just looks, you can tell he has that look. Feels like that one just got away from him. It was so close. He was really in. He did not have much other than the turn 2 sword. But as we kind of show, like, on the play, you don't need much more than the turn 2 sword.
Yeah.
He actually really didn't have much outside of it. He was kind of flooding on lands, it looks like.
Yeah, maybe he should have just waited to attack. But if he had waited to attack, it would have been a disaster.
Right. Okay. End of game 1. Answer to the trivia question.
So I don't think we're going to give the answer.
We're going to answer both of them.
Answers afterward.
Both answer. Okay. So our second trivia has a larger prize to it.
Yeah, you get a Gen Con badge if you can answer this trivia question correctly. Well, there's a chance you do. Anyway, hashtag SCG Premium. We're going to answer this question. Now, today is a good day because we're watching Red-Green Aggro play in the finals. We could have had another Delver Mirror, and that's been happening a lot lately. Last weekend, an 18-year-old won his second Grand Prix in less than 6 months.
Mm-hmm. First one was limited. Second one was constructed, showing kind of a...
I'd like to know who that was.
All right. That'll be our trivia question.
Yeah.
What player? 2 Grand Prix within the last 6 months.
What player won a Grand Prix last weekend, and it was his second Grand Prix in less than 6 months? He won playing Delver.
Beating Delver.
He beat Delver.
But there's no Delver. Remember, I'm totally having my faith restored in Standard this weekend, just by this open.
Yeah.
Delver, very absent right now. Our top 4 was Conley Ramp, Frights, Red Green. 1 Delver in the was it 1 Delver in the top 8?
Yeah, and it's funny because both the Red-Green decks had terrible matchups against their respective opponents. And they got to...
That's very true. Yeah, Ramp and Frights are probably the 2 matchups you want to see the least.
Yeah.
So Brandon Nelson...
And it wasn't only Ramp. It was like Ramp with like 6 Wrath of Gods.
Yeah. So Nelson... Okay, Nelson down a game, but I think his sideboarding plan is significantly stronger. What he will be bringing in, I would believe, 2 Increasing Savagery, 1 Sword of Feast and Famine, 2 Arc Trail. All those cards, excellent cards in this matchup. Things you would side out, Metamorph, Acidic Slime, maybe some Sword of War and Peace, even though we saw it really carry its weight there. The mana creatures are still pretty good.
You don't bring in Batterskull?
I'm not sure I bring in Batterskull. You're still going small. Like, take for example that last game. Batterskull was a little slow for that game.
That's reasonable. I mean, Brandon Downs has access to post-board to Garruk Primal Hunter.
Right.
Which I like in this matchup.
Nelson has that too. I think it runs into the same thing as Batterskull. Like, I think Primal Hunter would come in after Batterskull would come in. I think Batterskull's stronger. So it's like, it's fine. I think the other aforementioned cards are stronger in this matchup. So it's more, you have to make sure that your curve is still... You need to make sure you have action right away, because everybody's threats are better than the threats are better than the answers in this matchup.
Yeah, I can't imagine you keep War of Peace in. Is there any chance that either player might want to dodge Ancient Grudge? To play some shenanigans like that?
There's not that much to do with Ancient Grudge. Even though we saw, a sword battle there, they're not keeping in too many artifacts. I would board out the Metamorphs, for example, so they're really just down to swords. As you're seeing the Sword of War Peace, I don't think it's as good enough to be a 4 of anymore. I think if you're on the play, you may still want it. We kind of saw it at Brandon Nelson, just how good a turn 2 sword can still be. We saw him get down to 1 just on the back of sword on a mana creature.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that yesterday, how, the reason to play this deck is it's the best turn 2 sword deck.
Yeah, and I remember, that was when we were at the PT, one of the things we figured out why we wanted this deck was it was the best sword deck hands down.
Yeah.
So when there's a lot of white aggro, red aggro, it's like this deck is very good at playing swords. Both players, I believe, on 7.
Really, you don't think Feast and Famine's important enough that you bring in the Ancient Grudges?
Well, there's just only you still have access, I think, to Viridian Corruptor and Green Sun Zenith. Well, Nelson does not have Viridian Corruptor. He has Acidic Slime, which is decidedly worse against swords.
Yeah.
The thing about Ancient Grudge is that you're not going to get double value out of it, and it might be stranded. And I don't really want too many reactive cards. Sort of Feast of Famine is pretty important. I think you will need some sort of answer to it.
Yeah, I mean, like having 2 Ancient Grudge, maybe even siding in just 1, but I can't imagine siding in none.
That's fair. Maybe just... Yeah, you do. I do suppose you need to answer it, but you're a little bit still then on the... If you're just doing Grudge instead of Corruptor, you're still on the Miser plan to answer it. Like, okay, I hope I draw this one Grudge.
Well, I mean, it's not like you're not going to play the Corruptor.
Right. If you have the Corruptor, I would. If I had Corruptors, I would forego the Ancient Grudge. Just say, that's fine.
I would play 1, I think.
Okay.
There's also, I mean, there are a lot of extenuating circumstances. Like Batterskull can come in, also.
That's true. Batterskull's pretty good. So Brandon Downs also with 2 Arc Trail. He has 1 fewer increasing savagery.
Could definitely make a difference. I mean, he has Sword of Feast and Famines.
He has additional Sword of Feast and Famine.
No, he has 1 extra, the same as
Nelson just has 1. He's playing. The difference their main deck split on swords was 4 War Piece for Nelson and 3-1 in favor of War Piece for Downs. But as we turned out, that 1 was a pretty big game 1. So
that 1 made quite a difference.
Though to be fair, if that 1 was a red-white sword, actually I think Brandon Downs is also fine in that game we just saw. I think it would be worse, but my hunch is that he still would have won were that a white-red sword. Yeah,
he didn't use his mana very efficiently once he untapped.
Right. I mean, the protection from green, I think, was the bigger part, but...
Yeah, it did let us Companion live through that attack, which mattered.
Right, which I think matters. But yeah, I'm not sure how much it was relevant, which sword it was. So remember, though, Nelson can go bigger here. He has a lot of Daybreak Ranger. He does have 2, and he still is playing 2 Brimstone Volley. One of the differences what I like about Downs' deck is Downs has 4 Kessig Wolf runs to Nelson's 2. 4 seems like an awfully greedy number, but the mana base can support it, and it's a card you always like. One of the reasons I'm playing 4 is you always want one in every hand.
It's true. I mean, the draws where this deck has access to Kessig Wolf Run for when it runs out of gas versus the draws where it just starts turning like birds and elves sideways without access to a Kessig Wolf Run. It's a pretty massive difference.
Yeah.
How threatening the deck is.
Well, especially because you have. I feel like 4 Wolf Runs gives you the permission to play as many mana creatures as you want. All right, both players. It looks like both players are on 7s. Nelson will be on the play. Hand looks like he does have a Huntmaster in it, which almost by itself is good enough to keep. It looks a little land heavy. It's kind of like he does have he has. I see him seeing lands, a Zenith, and a Huntmaster. I can't imagine Nelson is shipping.
Downs 10 also looks quite good.
Even at 5 lands, Zenith Huntmaster, I'm probably keeping.
It's dangerous though.
I mean, obviously that's a weekend, but I think I still keep there. So I'm saying that's a turn 3 Huntmaster.
Anyway, on 6 cards, if you have Zenith Huntmaster 4 lands, you're extremely happy.
Right. Down's making some notes here. I think he's writing down his hand. maybe he's going to ship and wants an opinion later on. He's going to be like, oh.
Oh man, he's going to write an article about this that you guys will be able to read on StarCityGames.com.
We can all critique whether or not we thought Brandon Downs should have mulliganed.
There's no way he's supposed to mulligan that hand. That hand's awesome.
Downs's or Nelson's?
Downs.
I didn't see his. It's
it's like 3 lands, correct mana, like Green Source, Rootbound Crag, Kessig Wolf Run, Arc Trail, Galv Blast, 2 guys.
Sounds excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you probably should keep that. Especially if Brandon's play is Birds into Huntmaster. Arc Trail seems like quite the card.
Yeah, Arc Trail handles that situation pretty well.
Arc Trail's fantastic in this matchup. There's nothing that it doesn't kill, and usually it kills 2 things.
Background there, you just saw Glenn Jones. Last night, Glenn Jones.
Downs actually. So Downs is mulliganing.
Downs mulliganing that hand? I must have misread that hand.
Yeah,
there's no way.
I think that's what he wrote down. He's gonna come over afterward and ask us whether he should have kept it. Or I think it was close. Yeah, the hand you're describing, I think, is a hand you'd keep. So I'm not.
Yeah, there's no way.
But it's so overwhelmingly that you should keep it.
Yeah, that I must be wrong.
Okay,
that's my take on it.
So yeah, ideally, what you'd want in an opening hand in this matchup, if Brandon Downs is on the mulligan, I think Arc Trail is one of the best cards he could see. You would just like to slow down the nut draws. Arc Trail gets trumped a little bit by swords, but otherwise really good. Huntmaster of the Fells, excellent when it wins when it goes unanswered. And actually, I think Savagery is one of the more important cards too, because there's just not many answers to it. If your opponent's Savagery is a creature, you're down to. You don't have any kill spells for it at that point. You can tutor up Acidic Slime and block if you kept Acidic Slime in.
It's about it.
Yeah, it's about it. And then, and if it flashes back, there are no answers. I mean, the same answer, but it's... especially on Garruk's Companion, and it has Trample.
Garruk's Companion. The more I think about it, the more I think it's completely fine men.
Yeah. It's, what is it? The best thing we know, so... We went through this
Tramples.
It was this I remember in playtesting for a while, there's almost this process of grief you went through. The first time you're like, oh, I need this 2-drop. You really begrudgingly play Garruk's Companion. You're like, oh man. And every time you cast it, you just look at it and you're like, you're not Stranglerootgeist. But I guess you're doing okay, it's fine. And then at one point, I remember testing, we got to this point where we realized we were just trying one. We went a 5th one. And this was testing this with Kyle Stoll, and he's like, I think I want to play 3 Garruk's Companions. And everyone just kind of sits there. No one is happy about this idea. We're just like, yeah. We were in Hawaii and okay, we have to find someone who has Garruk's Companion.
I see Garruk's Companion.
It was like, no one was at all happy about it. It's like, I wonder if the dealers have this. All right, Nelson, Rootbound Crag, go. Downs, Rootbound Crag into Birds. I think Nelson's hand is a little land heavy, so he's he's on the Zenith for Birds. He's gonna go for the turn 3 Huntmaster. Once again, Arc Trail will be very good out of Downs here.
Yeah.
Turn 3 and Sword of War Peace. So Downs is gonna mimic Brandon Nelson's draw from last game. I think Nelson's fine with this. If he'll play a Huntmaster right into the sword. Huntmaster can dominate a game. The sword will protect Birds of Paradise from Huntmaster, but Huntmaster can actually just race a sword. Remember, neither players have very many instants in this matchup, which the scary part is that gives Nelson the ability to... The Huntmaster just keeps flipping.
Yeah.
So what Nelson has to decide here is whether or not he wants to make Huntmaster. I think he has a Galvanic Blast for the Birds, which I believe I like more. I would probably not make Huntmaster if I have a Blast. Okay, he's going to go Arc Trail, Birds, and Downs, putting Downs to 18.
Seems reasonable.
Going to make a mana creature and a land, pass the turn. And I think we make it Arc Trailed back. Nope. Pilgrim, Arc Trail back. Arc Trail, excellent card in the matchup. All right, Nelson's on game 2. Plan 2, make Huntmaster go. Nelson goes up to 22, makes a 2/2 wolf.
Yeah, and now it's strange for Brandon because he can't go sword equip for his turn because then Huntmaster flips.
Huntmaster would flip, and
then Nelson could just double spell on his turn, possibly. And,
right, and then
then it's a disaster.
Right, and then this is why I said where Huntmaster will just keep flipping, which is really scary. Okay, he's gonna tap. Debating here. All right, Downs already has a wolf run going, so it's pretty relevant with a sword.
Yeah, the war piece, that's pretty good.
It's actually funny. The trample is like the most important part about Keswick Wolf Run.
Yeah.
Pretty big turn here. If Downs doesn't have his own Huntmaster, and Nelson, despite the fact he got 2 from with mana creatures, he's got to be really happy to see the Arc Trail already in the yard here. The mana creatures in this matchup lose their value very quickly.
The player's pretty even in cards at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like Nelson's board state more. Just the fact that he has more cards. You know, his next card could be Sword Equip. Which, if you remember, one of the things that people often forget when playing with Huntmaster, especially in a sword deck, is when he flips to Ravager of the Fells, he gains Trample, which not irrelevant at all.
No. Especially in deck playing
Well,
swords.
it's funny because it has so much text and so many abilities that oftentimes, like, it gains Trample too. You'll forget that. So Downs will opt to equip the sword to the Pilgrim and attack. Nelson could chump with the wolf, instead decides not to.
Yeah, a little odd that Brandon played his land before he attacked, but
yeah, I think it was he was on a different plan.
He was on a different plan and then realized that this was better.
Yeah, so
he missed 1 point. Probably not going to make a difference. If it does, he'll be kicking himself. But
post-combat Stranglerootgeist going to try to block here. If I think Nelson would ideally want to see is like a Keswick Wolf Run here, or some way that he can just, or maybe even a Brimstone Volley, something that he can do at instant speed. He would love to flip Huntmaster and not have to pay for it with the whole turn. Wolf token's going to swing from Nelson. The token swinging not all that relevant. Downs still has a war piece going, so Downs can kind of be pretty cavalier about his life total. Nelson makes a Landwar Elf and says go. I would almost rather flip Huntmaster there. I don't know the remainder of his hand. Just has 1 card. Yeah, one of the things you want to do with a card like Landwar Elf is use it to flip your Huntmaster back. If it looks like the Huntmaster is going unanswered, you kind of want to milk it for all it's worth.
Yeah. So
Downs swinging the Sorted Pilgrim again. Not actually doing that much damage. Nelson's down to 1 card in hand, so...
Yeah, I mean, still doing, 4 to pop, gaining some life.
Yeah, it's still good. It's not the blow. It's not the massive life swing that it sometimes can be. And
Ooh,
Feast Famine comes down. That's going to be pretty good. I mean, the problem with Nelson is that flipping Huntmaster doesn't do all that much right now. It undies the Stranglerootgeist. But the swords definitely trumping the Huntmaster right now. So Nelson swings both his green creatures in, no blocks from Brandon Downs. Nelson will play land and Primeval Titan, which he sideboarded in.
Very nice.
Be getting probably 2 Keswick Wolf Runs.
Yeah, as long as one of those Keswick Wolf Run, it's fine.
Yep, and he does get 2 Wolf Runs. Remember, Downs' creatures will have pro-red, pro-green at this point, so this does give Nelson permission to attack, Wolf Run everything, flip Huntmaster. He's threatening loads of damage. Now, Downs can still beef up his own life total, where it's possible he doesn't need that.
Yeah, here Brandon Downs has a few different options. 2 + 6 is 0.
Yeah. Downs would love to continue hitting lands. Keswick Wolf Run plays very nicely with Sword of Feast and Famine. He can Wolf Run. All right, he's switching both equipment over to Stranglerootgeist. I think the extra point I think he definitely just wants the one extra point.
Yeah, with the 1 damage he's going to get from Kessig Wolfrun next turn, this presents a 2-turn clock.
Yep.
As opposed to the Absence Pilgrim.
Correct. So he swings Nelson down to 7.
Good job, Brandon Downs, doing math.
On the untapped. So yeah, Nelson's going to have to...
Nelson now at 7.
Right. Nelson's going to be unable to flip and flip back as long as Downs has to make sure he plays a spell here. He can't let Huntmaster flip. And well, Brandon probably can't flip it back either. That's his only source of life gain.
Yeah, now he just needs to survive for this turn. I imagine he's probably going to be... what is... He looks like a Zenith, right?
Yes. Yep, he's going to Zenith for 4 for Huntmaster of the Fells.
Grab a Huntmaster, go up to 21.
Oh, for Thrun. He's going to grab Thrun instead.
Seems reasonable.
That's pretty good. You can put... I mean, I think he just wants the knockout blow with his swords. You know, there's absolutely nothing you can do. All right, did Nelson draw Sideboarding Grudge, and is that the card he drew?
I don't know, he didn't... When he looked at his card, it looked like he was ready to scoop, and then he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the one outer, yeah. Ancient Grudge would win here, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, he has Primeval Titan in play. The card's so good.
Card is very good. No matter what lands it's getting, it's quite good. Thinking here, does he have an out? Being beaten up by swords both games. Swords very relevant here.
You're watching the swords just take this game over. And you know, this is what we were talking about, is both these players just playing the best sword decks.
Yes.
Brandon Downs' deck is a very dedicated sword deck.
Mm-hmm.
Swords are so good.
Yeah. I know it's a little bit of a different take on red-green aggro, but yeah, what it is, this is a sword deck.
Mm-hmm. It's a really good sword deck.
Nelson was originally on the companion build as well. He opted at the last moment to switch to Michael Hetrick's build from last weekend, which is a little bit of a bigger deck.
The Primeval Titan of the sideboard seems very strong. I mean, here it's obviously...
yeah, the Primeval Titan in the board's okay. One of the interesting things about it is that you still almost would rather, like... Sometimes you feel like you want a Zenith for something big. Usually Huntmaster's as big as you need to be. Brandon has drawn Increasing Savagery, actually, is what it looks like. So, would have been great to turn earlier. I don't think it's enough damage here. He can Savagery one guy, give his creatures trample. That's not enough.
Oh my goodness, it's... How much damage
Had this been a turn earlier, he would have had the mana to play it and flash it back.
Yeah, I mean, he can put Brandon down to 2 with that Increasing Savagery.
I don't even see how he puts him to 2. So he Savagery's a Huntmaster.
No, he's Savagery. Oh, never mind. Okay, I was thinking the flashback cost. So
he give +1/+0 and trample to the creature he's Savagery, so he could have 13 or 14 trampling coming, but that's still not going to be enough.
Yeah, it just won't be it. I was thinking 10+1/+1 counters on a Primeval Titan.
That would have been
Brandon at 2.
Yeah. We're at the flashback this turn. If Brandon,
so if he had drawn a turn earlier,
if Nelson
won,
could just discard it right now for 0,
yeah.
I think he'd have it.
Yeah. I think he'd be too short if he could just discard it.
Yeah, it'd be close. We'd have to count. Like I said, the card in the matchup, like the flashback on it, is not irrelevant in this matchup. But I think this is gonna be it.
Yeah, he's dead. It's unfortunate.
All right.
Some cool decks.
Brandon Nelson, 4 mana, gonna go make the Huntmaster Savage. I don't think it's enough.
No. 7/7 Huntmaster.
Titan's gonna go get some lands. I think this is all but this is just the formality. Brandon, show me, show me the block. All right, there's the block. Gun's gonna go in the bin, and that should be it. Nelson doesn't want it to be it, but I don't see how he gets out of it.
Yep. Then next turn, Keswick Wolf Run will finish off Brandon Nelson.
So he Wolf runs for 1 on the Huntmaster. It's 7, 8, tramples over for 4, 12 damage. Brandon Downs drops to 7. It's gonna Wolf run the Strangleroot and attack. And Brandon Downs is your Star City Des Moines champion. Des Moines defeating Brandon Nelson 2-0 in the red-green mirror.
No, just unbeatable.